What's going on, guys? My name is Matt, and Walmart recently released a line of overpowered gaming PCs, and to say that they're a bad value might be a bit of an understatement. So they released these PCs at ridiculously high prices that weren't anywhere in the realm of being a good deal, and because of this, the entire internet has had a field day making fun of them. This must have knocked some sense into Walmart, as they've dropped the price of each of these computers by $200, which is a significant price reduction. So in today's video, I decided to see what it would cost to build the same PC with similar or better parts at each price point. So without further ado, let's check out these overpowered Walmart gaming PCs. So they have three models starting at $1,200 and going all the way up to $1,900. Now, as I said before, they were originally trying to sell like this $1,200 model for $1,400, which is ridiculously overpriced. Each of these PCs shares some specs. They have an i7-8700, an SSD and hard drive, a decent amount of RAM. They all have the same case with the same LED fans and lights, but they also do have a lot of differences. Like the $1,200 one has a 1070, the $1,700 one has a 1080, and the $1,900 one has a 1080 Ti. And right off the bat, looking at these, because these are being marketed as gaming desktops, I'm seeing already some choices that are very questionable. For example, 32 gigabytes of RAM in a gaming PC is just completely unnecessary in my opinion. 16 gigabytes is plenty for someone who's just doing gaming, no streaming or anything like that. And bumping down to 16 gigabytes would have allowed them to both bring the price lower or put higher tier components in the places they skimped out on. Now, the PC builds that I picked out also share a lot of parts, as these systems share a lot of parts, and I'll go over those right now. The first is the i7-8700, which matches the 8700 in all three of the OP gaming PC builds. The next is a basic tower cooler for $22, as I wanted to match the basic tower cooler that those PCs had. Now, this is an 8700 and not an 8700K, so you can't overclock it, but using a tower cooler like this is going to make sure that your processor runs both cool and quiet. Next, for the motherboard, I went with the ASRock H370 Pro 4. This is a decent board. It's $80 up front, and you can get it for $65 after rebate. Now, if it was me building a PC in an Intel-based platform with this kind of budget, I would have spent a little bit more money and got a Z370 board, along with spent a little bit more money and got the K SKU of the 8700. Next, all of my part lists are going to include a Samsung 860 EVO. The base level build's going to have a 250 gig, while the two higher builds are going to have 500 gigs. All of these builds are going to include a 2TB mechanical drive to match the 2TB drive in the three OP gaming PCs. Finally, one of the hardest parts to match up with the OP gaming PCs was the case, as the case used for those isn't something you can go out and buy. So this is the closest match I could find. It's currently sold out, but the Deepcool Matrix 55 RGB goes for $81, and it has the dual tempered glass panels along with 3 included RGB fans. So I thought this was a pretty similar match to what the OP case was offering, and this actually may have better airflow, as there's some side vents that look substantially larger than the side vents on the OP gaming PC, where the glass front panel is pushed basically all the way to the front of the case. So now that you've seen all the part similarities, what I'm going to do is go over each build to show you what kind of money you could save by building it yourself. Other than the parts I already went over, I went with the 16 gigabytes of Viper Elite 2400 MHz RAM, which should work perfectly fine in this system, and you don't need crazy fast RAM for Intel-based platforms. Next, again, I went with the 250 gig Samsung 860 EVO, which should match or outperform the low-end ADATA SSD they include in that PC. Next, I went with the 1070 WindForce OC from Gigabyte, which is actually the same card that's used in the OP gaming PC, the lower end model. And finally, a big upgrade from the silver metal ticking time bomb of a power supply included in these OP gaming PCs is the EVGA 600BR, an 80+ bronze certified power supply. It is non-modular, but you can hide it under the PSU shroud, and it includes all black sleeve cables, which is much better than the ketchup and mustard mess that's included in the Walmart gaming PCs. So this full build is going to cost you around $1,125, which is $75 cheaper at least than the OP gaming PC, and you're getting the same parts if not better parts in a lot of cases. And if the price ever returns to the original $1,400, that means it's upwards of $275 difference between building it yourself and buying this PC. Moving on to the second tier PC, the DTW2, this includes the GTX 1080, it doubles the SSD size, as well as doubles the RAM to 32 GB. Again, I used all the parts mentioned at the beginning. The first difference is a 500 GB 860 EVO, which is actually only like $20 more than the 240 gig one at a really great $72.99. And if you need an SSD at this size, SSDs are really cheap right now, so you may want to hop on this deal. Next, I went with Corsair Vengeance Rgb Ram, 32 GB. This was only $20 or $30 more than the really low tier RAM, and this is 2666 MHz, which is actually a little faster than the included RAM, and it should look much better. Next up, instead of the GTX 1080, I decided to go with an RTX 2070 as it's going to perform very similar, it's going to cost very similar, but it's going to have lower power usage along with being a newer card, and includes the RTX ray tracing technology, but who knows if that'll actually be any good in the near future. This Gigabyte one goes for $500. It's currently sold out, but I'm pretty sure there's a $550 EVGA version you can pick up right now on Amazon. Finally, for the power supply, I went the EVGA Supernova 750G1. This is such a big step up from the included power supply. It's only $80 and it's actually $60 after a $20 mail-in rebate. It's completely modular, it's 80 plus gold certified, and 750 watts is way more than you need for this build, and pretty much as much as you're ever going to need for upgrading this PC. So overall, the system's going to cost just under $1,500 with the window key, which is over $200 cheaper than the currently discounted price of this PC, as well as upwards of over $400 cheaper if they bring it back to the original MSRP. So as you can see with this middle tier PC, it is an absolutely horrible deal. They're using a crappy power supply, last gen GPU, non-overclockable CPU. I just really couldn't recommend this for anyone. Finally, moving on to the $1,900 one that was originally $2,100. This is the exact same PC as the last one. The only difference is this is upgraded to a GTX 1080 Ti. The only difference in this part list from the last one is going to be that I upgraded to an RTX 2080, as again, it's around the same price and performance as the 1080 Ti, but it's giving you newer technology at a lower wattage. This PC ended up being about $1,730 once you factor in Windows, and as you can see, that is just under a $200 price difference, and again, it's upwards of a $400 price difference if they go to the original MSRP. So as you can see, the DTW3 and the DTW2 are absolutely horrible values even at the discounted price. I really don't think I could recommend these to anyone, as they're again using last gen GPUs, questionable power supplies, non-overclocking CPUs, and the list goes on. At $1,200, the DTW1 is starting to approach a place where it might be a good value. But again, if for some reason the price went up to $1,400, I could never recommend it at that price. I still have a really hard time recommending it at $1,200 because I know there's other system integrators that will offer the same value for the money with better components, better power supplies, and will give you more options than what this offers. So under no circumstance could I ever recommend the DTW2 or DTW3. Now, a lot of part choices were thrown around in this video, and obviously a lot of people may disagree on some of my part choices. If you did, let me know what you would change it to in the comment section down below. Hopefully this comment section can be a good conversation about the OP gaming PCs and what you would do differently if you were to build a PC around that price. So I think this wraps this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up as well as consider subscribing. And this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.